Welcome to the first in a series of tutorial videos for the Integrated Farm Budget Tool. Integrated Farm Budget Tool is an application that can be accessed at ifbt.farm. In this first video, I'd like to discuss at a high level the purpose of the application, the targeted user base, the functionality, and then the information that a farmer would want to gather up in advance of using the application. Relates to the purpose of the IFBT farm tool. Farming is a complicated business. There's the production side, getting a crop in and out and all that goes into that. And then there's also the financial management side of the business. And these two really need to come together for farmers to be effective in the near term and the long term in terms of managing a profitable and successful business. Planning, budgeting, and risk management, the financial management side of the business, is foreign to a lot of farmers. Many do not have financial or accounting background, and it can be daunting and difficult. What our tool is designed to do is to provide an easy to use and intuitive tool that addresses these financial management aspects of the business. From grain marketing to crop insurance, crop selection, title selection, these all have a tremendously critical impact on ultimate outcomes and profitability for the farm, for the crop year, and understanding how these various levers impact the picture of risk, range of potential outcomes is really very important and a critical feature of what we're providing by virtue of this tool. Ultimately, this tool will allow for farmers, whether highly sophisticated financial managers or those who are really good at the production side of agriculture but not so strong on the financial management side, will give them smart operational and risk management tools so that they can make smart operational and risk management decisions. The target audience for the tool is corn, soybean, and wheat farmers across the United States. We cover states and counties that cover 98% of all the corn, wheat, bean production in the U.S. Again, we're allowing these farmers to quickly and easily develop, benchmark, and then customize budgets. We produce a fully integrated and dynamic financial model, and I'll explain that in more detail in a moment. It allows the farmer to visualize a wide range of outcomes sensitized to price and yield. And while the underlying code and logic and computations are really extraordinarily complex, what we present to the user is a powerful, intuitive, and user-friendly tool. And can demystify many of the things that are otherwise mysterious as it relates to the budgeting and financial planning process. The use of the application is free at ifbt.farm, and we encourage you to go out. You'll be asked to set up an account, and then you can build your own farm operation and model your own farm operation online through this web application. What do we mean by visualizing and managing financial risks, and how does the functionality of the IFBT farm help the farmer? Well, first, the core of what we're trying to get to is what is the whole farm sensitized cash flow for a crop year? Across all the crops, across all the budgets, across all the grain marketing, where are you going to end up for the crop year based on those various decisions? Well, that relies upon a series of inputs. First of all, as I mentioned earlier, we allow the ability to import with the push of a button standardized benchmark budgets and then customize those to the farm operation. The farmer can easily, during the planning stages of the year, test out various different crop acreage allocations, shifting across crops and understanding the impact on the profitability of the overall operation. We allow for fixed and variable costs. There are certain costs, most costs a crop is planted are fixed, but there are some variable costs that vary with yield, things like grain storage or grain drying, or, for example, replacement-based fertilizers is a fairly large item that are yield dependent. So we have an ability to show not just a static budget, but one that shows costs varying with yields. Grain marketing is obviously critical to a farm's success as well as its risk management. A farmer that has sold all of their grain coming into a crop year as compared to a farmer that isn't going to sell any grain until after harvest. Well, those farmers have very, very, very different risk profiles, and they can manage their risk profile by actively changing that strategy around grain marketing or by utilizing other tools such as title and crop insurance, which I talk to next. Title selections each year are made in the spring. ARCO and PLC are the choices, and they provide basically almost a free form of crop insurance. We have a ARCO PLC decision tool, as well as once those decisions are made, you can see exactly what contributions those potential payments would have on the overall farm operation. And then critically, the last element that we discuss here is crop insurance selection. Crop insurance is just a tremendously powerful form of managing risk. It's highly subsidized by the U.S. government and is a really important feature of farm management. We allow the farmer to test various assumptions about the type of insurance, RP, HPE, or yield only, test various levels, whether that be an 85% RP policy or 80% or lower, and you can immediately see the implications on your crop, on your farm, of both the costs of that insurance as well as the indemnity payments or the benefits that come from those in various price and yield scenarios. The model is designed to be used during the planning phases of the crop year, January, February, March, April kind of time frame, where many of the key decisions are made and locked. But it is also designed to allow the farmer to visualize and understand where they stand through the course of the crop year, through planting, through harvest, and all the way until the time that the bins are empty. The data underlying the model are all updated automatically real time, so market closes are all imported into the model. All of the rolling risk management agency RMA data, all of the rolling FSA data is incorporated automatically into the model, and so this is a tremendously powerful tool that takes a lot of complicated information and brings it together in a way that a farmer can really understand it. And on that final point, we present the results in actual dollar terms for the farm, not only dollars per acre, which we also provide in dollars per bushel, but on dollar terms. And I think this is helpful for many farmers in terms of really understanding the bottom line implication of these various decisions, and helping the farmer see the forest from the trees, helping the farmer see big dollar items and small dollar items and distinguish between them, and to really manage the business effectively from a high level strategic perspective. Information that we would suggest that the farmer assemble in advance. There's a series of things that are really farm specific that we will be asking for that will help complete the model. First of all, as it relates to title decisions, we would want to know for each of the crops how many title acres the farm has, and the PLC yields, weighted average PLC yields for those acres. Those are available on FSA Form 156 forms, where you'll see across your various farm units, there'll be acres, there'll be PLC yields, and we'll want to aggregate those up for purposes of putting them into the model. We need several crop insurance benchmarks, we need yields, and then we need some decisions that were made to generate those yields. Most farmers won't know the nuances of this, but they will understand this if they call their crop insurance agent, who will be able to help with this. The first are, we need 3 different yields. They all have a different definition and they're calculated differently. One is called a rate yield, one is adjusted yield, and one is an approved yield. The approved yield is what most people think of as their APH yield. That's the benchmark for which they're getting indemnities are being calculated. Rate yield and adjusted yield are used as interim steps to generate the crop insurance premiums and the indemnities. And we talk about that in the videos to come. In order to calculate those yields, we also need to know whether trend adjustment and yield exclusion selections were used. If you did use those, you might, which most farmers do, are using trend adjustment and yield exclusion. That will produce different rate yield and adjusted yield and approved yields. So the answer to those questions, 3 yields for each crop, and whether TA and YE were used are inputs that we're going to need for the model. We also try to capture land ownership costs. For some farmers own their land and have very low expenses related to it. Others are renting all of their land. To the extent that we are trying to measure the profitability of a farm, we want to know what the land ownership costs are. For purposes of the model, we capture the mortgage interest and principal payments. We want to know annually. We want to know what the annual property taxes are and any other land expenses such as land repairs related to the ownership of land. Finally, we want to know where the farmer stands in terms of grain marketing. What have they contracted already on the futures, and what have they contracted already in terms of basis, and to the extent that you have a contract sheet that you're working off of that gathers up all your contracts. If you have that available to you, then you'll be able to readily input those into the model. And then finally, as I mentioned earlier, we allow the farmer to bring in benchmark budgets. These come from the academic institutions, the ag institutions across the United States, publicly available documents. But we really encourage the farmer to modify those and allow them to easily modify those for their own respective farm operations. The budget will come in and say this is an expected seed cost for corn. Well, you might have a higher or lower seed cost. And so we would strongly encourage the farmer to customize these benchmark form budgets to their own operations to create a more accurate output. Barring that, or in advance of that more time-consuming approach, farmers can still derive substantial benefit from the model using the generic budgets that are available to them. And so don't let that dissuade you from starting to build a farm. We do encourage over the longer term putting in those specific costs to make it more accurate, but you can get a lot of value out of the application with the standard benchmark budgets.